I want to give a huge thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Therapy isn't something to run away from, it's a vessel to run towards. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online, so break out your comfies. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time. Anytime. And schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. No more fumbling to get a session on the calendar. You schedule based on when the time is right for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. Therapy changed my life for the better. Pun intended. And with BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Rocky. That's betterhelp.com/Rocky. Just call me kid and play baby because I had a house party and the reviews are in. It was in fact a smash. Old friends, new friends, good music, good pizza, thank you Scott, drinks, ganja, a room full of people skilled in the art of conversation. They've trained their whole lives for this, and guess what? All my party guests bobbed and weaved in a melodic symphony of conversational goodness. I don't want to equate the crowd to, Shakespearean players of the modern day Renaissance, but I think I have to. The rain came down with the power of a hefty ton. Doth did the party gods, ye old, have fun. New shakes. Thankfully, this party was all comedy, no tragedy, and I love to host, so friends, thank you for making that birthday wish come true. Big shout out to LP and HP for supplying the libations and food to their cute but a psycho daughter, Scott, for always everything, and co-birthdaying with me every year, and just being a friend like no other. Every one of us in the gang is grateful that you're ours. Nat and Kara on cake duty and so much more. I had people asking me to hide pieces of those cakes. So delicious and appreciated. Isabel for bringing the finest handmade chocolates. To everyone who gave me a plant. Well, medicine. Plant medicine. Weed. To everyone who gave me weed, which was a lot of you. Thank you. To have my brand shift from wine to weed is the gift that keeps on giving, and for that, I'm most grateful. To each and every one of you that walked, subwayed, ordered a car, drove yourself. That rain was brutal. And people bail when there's rain. That's why it's an instant classic when people sing or talk about rain. Gene Kelly, Lady Gaga, Drew Barrymore. To party at a party of mine in the flesh makes you automatically, wholeheartedly, authentically, stamp of approval, member of the Party God Squad, IRL. And that's a big deal. To my future self listening back to this, I wish for you to keep hustling, keep loving the people that love you. I hope you remain to be as in the moment as possible. Double check for your belongings and keep looking and creating the magic because, my girl, it is everywhere.
It's time for
the
Rocker.
Welcome to the Rocky Rundown, where you get to learn a little bit about my week. Party God Squad, hello! Did you have a good week? I sure hope so. I hope that you ate, drank, and were merry, or that you cleaned, cleansed, and thus may have been a little less fun to be around, but perhaps your body was feeling good. Wouldn't it be nice if we could have it all? But we can't, so love what you got. My week started off great. In January, for his birthday, I got my dad tickets for us to see MJ the Musical It's the Michael Jackson Broadway musical, and it centers around him getting ready to go on the Dangerous tour. But if you've seen the Cher show, the other Broadway musical, it's all about Cher's life, which was fantastic. I'll say it was similar to that. They go back and forth with different actors playing different versions of her throughout her life. It was the same thing with the Michael Jackson show. The way that the media was so obsessed with Michael Jackson's personal life, it was an absolute feeding frenzy. I can't imagine in 2023, the way we just know everything about everyone at all times, what kind of chow down sesh of no privacy he would have been signing up for. And I hate when people say celebrities signed up for this. No, they didn't. That's a cop-out with humanity's inability to mind our own fucking business. Oh, they signed up for this when they chose a life of fame and fortune. They asked for this when they decided to be famous. Did they? Let's just all worry about our own lawns, okay? It's driving people to the brink. The reason MJ the Musical was great, besides the music, the storyline, and the dancing, what made this musical so great was the fact that it left you wanting more. Always leave them wanting more. Earlier this week, I had a guy in his 60s ask me if I was turning 23 or 24, and he wasn't kidding. What he was doing was obviously campaigning for a blowjob in broad daylight. Age is such an interesting thing. We put so much weight about where we should be, by when. What an absolute scam society is running. I did not blow that old guy that asked me if I was turning 23 or 24, but I hope someone does. That brings us to Rocky's highest thoughts, my most stoned thoughts of the week. Number 1, when the Red Hot Chili Peppers said, "The more I see, the less I know," I really felt that. Number 2, how can time be the absolute biggest gift and simultaneously the biggest thief? Number 3, speaking of time, you know how people will say, if only I could go back in time and know what I know now? What if time travelers are already doing that? What if that is where innovation comes from? And number 4, I saw this on a meme, but I think it's really true. Nobody is nicer to you than a man who hasn't fucked you yet. My guest this week is comedian Quin Lamar. Quin's wild word was big, and baby, you'll be in big trouble with me if you don't give this whole story a listen. If you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can follow me at Wild Nights with Rocky on TikTok and Instagram, at Wild Nights Pod on Twitter. If you want to watch extended interviews with all of my guests, please subscribe on YouTube. You can support this show for $2 or $5 a month by joining my Patreon. $5 a month members get an Irish lesson from me so we can keep the endangered language alive, baby. Join me, won't you? A big thank you and a future thank you to everyone who's written and everyone who will write a review when this episode is over. It really does make a difference. And now, please enjoy my Wild Nights conversation with Quin Lamar. Quin, welcome. Thank you for doing the podcast.
Thank you for asking me to be here. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I've been listening to the Messy Show quite a bit, so I feel
Okay.
I feel a connection to you that you're probably gonna have to grow and get the connection to me on your end, but I already feel connected to you. Having we have kind of similar podcasts because you guys like to explore, the messier side of life and people's messy stories.
All mess.
And I love to explore, not necessarily mess, but if it gets messy, I'm cool with it. So I feel like I'm in good company.
Yeah, we all about the mess. Like we like to say we're just nosy people who wanted to get an excuse to like have people tell us stuff. So like, we love that. We love the messy stuff. I'm always down for a good mess.
Yeah.
And, life is messy. Everything, if you're gonna be real, you're gonna be messy. So
that
at
is
the Messy Show,
real.
that's what we embrace.
I was talking to someone about that actually, about how human beings, everybody is so hung up on people being perfect when actually the way human beings learn is by making mistakes.
Absolutely.
That's how we learn and evolve.
I had a conversation too about somebody who was like talking about millennials versus Gen Z.
Okay.
And they said that millennials are all about like curated perfection, whereas Gen Z is about curated imperfection. Only both showing only what they want to be shown, but in different ways. Mm-hmm. And I feel that, as a millennial, I feel that, but like I've never been a curated perfection person. Like what you see is what you get. Right. With me overall, like whether you talk to me, whether you're on my social media, whatever, you come to my show, whatever, you're gonna get me. And I appreciate people who like embrace all of that mess, like all of that.
Yeah.
You're gonna have unpopular opinions. You're gonna do stuff that makes you kind of a dick. You're gonna mess up, and like you gotta, you own it, and that's all part of the package.
That's all part of the package. And I think there is a very famous saying that goes, go big or go home.
Oh, big. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay, big.
Quin's wild word was big. Perfect segue. Quin,
Perfect.
I would love to hear your wild night story. I know everyone would love to hear your wild night story. So please take us into your wild night big.
Okay. Now this is a story I don't think I've ever even told on the Messy Show. I don't think I've ever told this story publicly.
For anyone not watching, my jaw is dropped. So thank you very much, Quin. I feel very honored.
I don't keep a lot to myself, but I haven't told this story. So okay, my wild night started. Now this happened like maybe 12 years ago. I was very young. I was like 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a baby.
We're the same age.
And yeah. So like I'm older now. I'm more, relaxed, but this was when I was like on it. I was like on one. Most of my 20s I was on one. And so I had this friend group which is now defunct, which was me and three really tight friends that I had. And we used to do everything together. We lived together, we clubbed together, we messed around at different times together. Like we were just really tight. And one night we went out. It was like this whole big party night. We were going out. I think it was during Pride. I'm pretty sure it was Pride. And one of the friends, I don't want to say his name.
Oh, we protect the innocent and the not so innocent on this show. So you just make up a name.
We'll call him Mark.
Mark.
And
Mark with a C or Mark with a K?
We'll say Mark with a Q.
Okay, perfect. I feel like
Mark was black, so we got to be clear. Let's be. So, this was a big thing for me because, this was we were a black friends group. We thought we were doing like some Noah's Ark type shit. It was really toxic, but we had love for each other.
Right.
And me and Mark specifically butted heads quite a bit because we were the same age, and the other two in the group were maybe a few years older than us, and it was just different. But he and I were the same age, and we had a lot of tension between us. Like we had never actually had sex, but we had like all this sexual tension. And see, with black people, the will they won't they thing works a little different with black people. It's almost like will they won't they murder each other. So we were very much at each other's throats.
Okay. Yeah.
And so
did you like
this particular night out is Pride?
Did you like that?
I mean, I was raised by two alcoholics. I was raised by two bickering alcoholics who me and my siblings would hear have makeup sex constantly. So like that is a very normal. Unfortunately for me, it was a very normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, relationship thing that you get into it with your significant other, whoever you're into.
Right.
But I say that because like it was he and I that made the night kind of a wild. We were like kind of getting into it the whole day because it's Pride, especially Pride weekend is like it is a days long event.
Yeah.
It has daytime activities, it has nighttime activities, and so we started out during that day. This was probably Saturday night. We started out that day, really getting into it, arguing about different stuff, just petty. By that night, things come to a head. We go out, we go drinking in Manhattan and everything, and we get into this huge fist fight in the West 4th train station.
I know it well.
And it was a big, nasty fight that people tried to break up and they couldn't. We ended up falling onto the train tracks where we continued to fight.
Quin!
I mean, and like I'm a big guy. Like I'm 6'4". I'm a bit bigger than I was then. 6'4", like over 200 pounds, big guy. Mark was also a tall guy. He was a model, probably about 6'3" himself.
Okay.
Pretty big guys. And we're like fighting on these train tracks, completely unaware because we're like in it.
Now, let me stop you. I want to ask with the fight. Okay. Now, you had this will they, won't they? You kind of like each other, but you also feel comfortable with having
we hated each other, yeah.
Yeah, you liked having the hate part of the relationship too. My question is this: what kicked off the fight? Is that something that like you can share? What kicked off the fight, or you don't even know because of the partying?
If I'm not mistaken, because this is a while ago, seriously,
Yeah, of course.
I believe the fight was over where we were supposed to go next. Because we had different ideas of like where we wanted to take the night. And that is a big fight that happens with the gays when they go out.
He's like,
Because
I want to go to
your friends always want to
duplex.
go somewhere.
Yeah, you're like, well,
Right.
we're
No.
going to
Right.
Brewery
Like
Curies. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like, no, we're not doing it. It's like, yeah, exactly. Like I think he wanted to go to I think he wanted to go uptown to like industry, maybe.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't know. And
But
I
that's
wanted
what
to stay
kicked
in
it.
the village because like the
Mhm.
village is the vibe, you know.
It
So
is.
that it was really stupid. So we got into this argument, escalated. Next thing you know, we're fighting on the train tracks. My other two friends are like trying to break it up. It's like this crazy thing. People, we fighting in front of white people now. So white people are like, they don't know whether to call the police or place bets.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, the reactions, like I can still hear them echoing.
And it's
So we
probably
get off
more
the train tracks.
engaged. Not to interrupt you, but it's probably even
Oh
more
yeah.
engaged because of the time period. Everybody wasn't pulling out their phones to go viral 12 years ago. That wasn't a
No,
thing.
right, exactly. Like we weren't on TikTok. We would have been on TikTok. I'm
Uh-huh.
surprised we weren't on Worldstar because
Yeah,
Worldstar
yep.
was a thing back then. But we were not. It wasn't like that yet. So like it was just. I remember I kind of blacked out,
Of course.
and like I feel like I just when I came to, I was on the train track fighting. So he gets off the train track. He gets off the train tracks. There's no train coming because this is like, again, this is the West Fourth train station at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So the trains aren't running like water.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets off. I'm like instantly still angry. I like vault over back onto the platform. We continue the fight on the platform. People are like, reacting. Women are screaming. Everybody's doing all this stuff. So one of my friends who in the group, he breaks up the fight and he's like, no, you guys need to stop, separates us, whatever. We're gonna take a cab. Cause like, we were gonna take a train. He was like, no, we got to get in a cab. This night's over.
Yeah.
We go up, to the street. We're still arguing the whole time. We get in the street now. We're in the middle of Manhattan. This is Pride. It is busy. It is Saturday night. And we're like arguing. He's trying to wave down a cab. And we kind of get into a tussle again. Like he gets in my face. I push him. It's a really ridiculous thing. And so I push him. My friend comes back from getting the cab. And as he's coming back, Mark is so mad. I will never forget the look of hatred on his face. Like he was so angry. He leaned, he goes back, he winds up to punch me in the face. And I'm thinking, go ahead, because when you do it, I'm a duck and blah, blah, blah. And I duck. And he hits my other friend, we'll call him Charles, right in the jaw, breaking his tooth. Like we can hear the crack, right?
Oh my
So
God.
we're both like, that was a sobering moment because we were both, Mark and I were both like, oh shit. Like that was like not what we expected.
Yeah.
So like his mouth was like bleeding. People on the corner are now reacting to everything. And so we instantly like stop fighting. So then we like take the cab. We take the cab to the nearest hospital, which I think might have been St. Vincent's at the time.
Yeah.
And we go to the hospital. We're like in the hospital. He's like so pissed because like we've hit him. Well, he got hit, and we're doing this whole thing. Nice ruined. And we're sitting in the waiting room. He and I completely stop fighting at that point because we both feel bad about what happened. And we're like working, talking to the doctor, getting everything. We're in there for like an hour, over an hour, waiting and all this stuff. So things finally calm down. We end up like, there together for a while or whatever. And then we go to the bathroom, we have sex. And
At the
that
hospital?
was the end in the hospital. And when they have those big like handicapped bathrooms.
Yes.
And like, I don't know how it happened. It just did. And that was the end of our riff for that night. And that was the end of everything. Isn't that crazy? People are crazy, right?
Wow, that's the ultimate cherry on the cake or icing on the cake. What is it?
Uh-huh.
Cherry on top, icing on the cake of the
Cherry
story.
on top.
Because
that's when it takes a turn. I didn't even expect that.
But you had sex. Now, did Charlie find out that you had sex?
Oh, he did. He did when we came back because like we were gone for a good like 20 minutes, I think.
Uh-huh.
And those bathrooms are like private, so there's no like really way to know how long somebody's in there. And it was we did the damn thing in there too. It was good too. So like when we came out, we were both like super awkward. And then like he just kind of like knew. He was like, "Where were you both at?" And then like we just didn't like really say anything. And he was like, "You got to be kidding me." He was like, "I'm staying here with a broken tooth and you bitches fucking in the bathroom." So it was like this whole thing. Now he at this point he's upset because my friend Charles is very outspoken.
Right.
So he's like yelling at the nurses. He did not care that everybody heard him yell that. He's just, I mean, we were a mess. I can't tell you how much of a mess we were. We
I think
were
you just
four
did.
black men. We were four black men with a lot of generational trauma who came together in New York and decided to make a friends group. And it was the craziest. The time in that friend group was probably the craziest in my life. That was the wildest like 6 years of my life.
Yeah. Wow.
And
Honestly,
that is my wild night.
I feel so bad for Charles that it like went down like that, but I am happy that the sexual tension got. Was that the first time you had sex with him?
That's the first time we had ever had sex. And there have been close calls before that. Like we
Yeah.
would get really mad at each other, something would happen, and then we kind of be alone, and then we'd be like, I'm like, is it about to happen? I think it's gonna happen. And then it wouldn't
Wow.
happen.
But
But then it actually happened.
then it happened in the hospital after Charles got knocked out and had a broken tooth.
After, yeah.
Wow. Whew, that really took me on a ride. I mean, you were on the train tracks. You were enjoying Pride for a second, and then we're on the train tracks and we're fighting in the street. And now Chuck is knocked the fuck out.
Chuck that was
Um,
bad. Like he
that
brought
is
that up for
messy.
years.
Now, you
It's
said
very
that
messy.
it was a friend group that kind of dissipated. Do you feel like it kind of
It is
dissipated?
now defunct.
Yeah. Did that happen because everybody kind of, I mean, I know friend groups that happens is very common, but did it happen because everybody started to do their own personal healing and maybe coming together, you came together for a reason and then you started to heal?
Yeah, yeah. It was sort of like that when you come into this city. Like I came to this city really young.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know anybody. I was one of those people that moved here when I was like 20, didn't know anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And you make your family being in the gay community. And there's not a big place for gay black men in New York City. Like there is no exclusive place for them.
Right.
And so you kind of like make your own place. And what we did was we had a need. We were all kind of in the same place. We all came, only one of us was like from New York, from Brownsville, Brooklyn. Like he grew up in the projects. Like we all had really like rough upbringings that we kind of like commiserated with, but also like supported. Like as bad as these things were that happened, a lot of our relationship and what we did for each other was actually pretty beautiful. How we supported each other through different things. But as we got older and as things happen, we met people. One of us got married and moved to Philly. We just kind of split up, but we were very toxic together for those years.
Yeah.
Very much.
But it ended up in a positive way because everybody found their own path.
Yeah, everybody seems to be doing okay. We don't really talk. Like none
Right.
of us really talk. We don't, like, we're kind of friends on social media, but we don't interact. Like we don't,
Yeah. But that's okay.
which is kind of weird.
It's weird, but people come into your life for a reason or a season, right?
Or a season.
Yeah.
For them, it was both. It was a reason and a season.
And a season. And that's okay. And I'm glad that you said that about that, gay black men in New York City don't really have a place to call their own, because I feel like New York, and I say this as a very strong ally, and I feel like New York paints this picture that there's this big gay scene and that there's all these clubs and bars and stuff that people can go and be safe at. But I think that they're missing the point that it's not safe for all the community members at all times. And I think that it's important to say that out loud in 2023.
It's definitely a problem. I think it's gotten a little bit better, actually, honestly. But when I did most of my clubbing in my 20s, a big part of the groups who did not have really a place were the people in the trans community, and the people in the Black community, and to a degree the people in the Latino community. It depends. I've always said, and I kind of talk about this on stage, that it's kind of like you can find safe places that are very welcoming in the gay community if you are a Black person
Mm-hmm.
or a person of color. There just tends to sometimes be a necessity to give up a certain part of your identity for the greater we.
Code switch
And
a little bit.
a little bit. And I've
Mm-hmm.
never really been comfortable giving up my Blackness to be embraced fully by gayness, if that
No.
makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And that's my personal feelings about it. And
Yeah.
I've always liked having, a Black gay friend group. Not that
Mm-hmm.
I'm exclusive or anything, but there's a benefit to a shared struggle within the gay community, like in a subgroup, in
And
my opinion.
understanding that you're not going to get
Yeah.
from everyone else. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that's important. And I think you're probably and definitely not probably, I think you're definitely right. I think everything is going in the right direction, even if it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
feel like it at all times. It's kind of like I'm sort of trying really, really hard to look at the world like cleaning your house. You know how sometimes when you
Mm-hmm.
clean your house, if you're cleaning something specific that hasn't been cleaned in a while, you have to make it messier before it gets cleaner. You got to like take a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
out and
Take
like
stuff out of the
organize
closet.
it.
And,
Yeah,
yeah.
I that's what I'm trying to look at America like right now and be like, listen, there's a younger generation who's coming in and pointing out all the flaws, and then there's our generation, the millennial generation, who, let's be clear, we did a lot of work, but we were
We
raised by
did.
a generation, the generation above us and two generations above us, that they didn't have all the tools in their toolbox either.
They did not.
So, you know what I mean? Everybody has to, I mean, some people we don't have to give any motherfucking grace to, but some situations we do have to give grace to. And I think I'm looking at
Yeah.
I'm really trying to look at it as we're cleaning our house. But
I think that's a good way to look at it.
yeah, and in the realm of cleaning, let's get a little messy right now. So,
Okay.
you started the Messy podcast. I'm sorry, the Messy Show, your podcast,
The Messy Show.
the Messy Show. Now, with the Messy Show, you've done what, 55 episodes?
At least.
Yeah.
Like I don't keep track. Like I'm so Katie, my co-host Katie Arroyo, who is like hilarious and a good friend of mine.
Uh-huh.
She's more the technical aspect of it. I
Perfect.
kind of just show up and talk to people.
Well, that's a wonderful role to
So
have. That's a wonderful role to
I
have.
mean, I mean, we I always tell her like she's one of those people who's very good at organizing. Like some people
Yes.
like are really good at that. They're really good at
Yes.
that. And
And they like
I
me.
think you
I'm one of
should
those, but I love it.
right. And as a lazy person, I think it's great to let those people shine.
Yeah, you got to
Just
let
let
people
them
shine.
have that.
And
Let
then
them have that.
and then you can shine behind the mic, and you know what I mean, you or in front of the
Exactly.
mic, you know what I'm saying. So I want to ask you, you've done quite a few episodes. What
Mm.
have you learned about yourself as a comedian from the beginning of starting that podcast to present
Mm.
day Quin?
I've learned that it's great to talk to other comedians, that
Yeah.
it's not something that you get to do a lot because I think as a comedian you have your friends who
Uh-huh.
are comedians who you kind of like get close with, but I think the show has allowed me to talk to a lot of comedians who aren't necessarily in my friend group,
Right.
who I wouldn't necessarily have time, like if I'm on a show with them, you don't always have time to talk to people,
Yeah.
but it really showed me how much in common we really kind of all are.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. Like I think there's a definite brotherhood or sisterhood, or we should find something that's
Camaraderie.
not camaraderie. There we
Yeah.
go. Of comedians that we kind of like all experience. And I'm all about the commonality of that. And talking to all those comedians, I've learned that no matter where we come from, no matter what religion or race or whatever, we're all like crazy ass people with opinions who can't shut up.
Mm-hmm.
And we really want to make people laugh. And I think that's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is a beautiful thing. And it also goes to show, talking to so many comedians, I've learned this myself too. No one's path is linear. Everyone is making it up,
No.
everyone's making it up as they go
Mhm.
along. So just keep one foot in front of the other. If you can throw a hand back and pull somebody up, throw a hand back and pull somebody up.
That's
If you,
great.
you know what I mean?
Hmm.
If you can't, like, keep it moving, but stay in your lane at all times. Stay in your lane because it
That's
doesn't
true.
matter what this person's doing. This person could be behind you the whole race, right? Whatever the definition of behind
Hmm.
anybody, whatever anybody puts into that box, they could be here. but then they could Mario Kart. You know, in Mario Kart, you get on those things that like speed you up.
They might get a shell. They might get a shell
They might get a shell. You never
that'll knock
know.
past some people. Like things, yeah. And I think that's another thing that I think is great about comedy. I think it's something that it's so easy in comedy to be like, oh, I'm not doing enough. Or, oh, I'm not. This person like comparing people and all that
Of
stuff. Like
course.
I've never really compared myself to anybody, so it's not a big problem for me because I think for starters, I was like one of the first Black people on my block growing up. I was one of the first Black kids in my school. So I've always felt different.
Yeah.
So I don't really feel like there's any competition because I've always felt so othered.
Mm-hmm.
But comedy is the first time I've ever been able to be like, oh, like I kind of can see how people could compare themselves to others based on, who you start with and what happens to who. But like you said, we're all basically just trying to make it happen. We're all doing it our own way.
Right.
And the beauty of that is you never know what's going to happen for anybody around you.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I can personally say it's been great to see the people around me that I do know going on and blowing up.
Yeah.
And starting to do those things. Like I'm very glad to see the people around me who are experiencing that. Yeah, they're winning. And it's good. It's a win for everybody. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's the way I look at it. We're all winning.
It is a win for everybody because it just shows you that one day you could be not winning, whatever the definition of that is, and then the next day you can't. Or you could be. Now, with your show, also with comedians and artists of all types, you have to make your own work. I don't think people hear that, but I don't think they really take it in if they're not doing it. It's a lot of frustration at the industry, frustration at themselves, when it's really like, if you're meant to be an artist at your core, let's show the world what you got.
Something.
Yeah, that's your gift. Show us what you got. Now, the good news about being an artist and making your own work is you get to choose your own work. So for your podcast, you chose this super fun concept. People tell you their messy stories. You talk about messy situations. Has there ever been a story? And I will say, to have a show like that, you have to be a non-judgmental person. You have to be someone who's open, where people feel comfortable and safe coming to you, telling their stuff. Has there ever been a story that was even not too much for you, but made you kind of say, oh, wow, even I'm shocked by that. Even that's messy, higher than my caliber of my messy threshold?
Yes. As a matter of fact, yes.
Yeah.
It's been a couple. One really stands out. And I don't think I can say it because I think it'll be obvious to know who I'm talking about. But I have seen it where I'm like, I've had episodes or like I've seen things where I'm like, wow, I'm worse than these people. And then I've had ones where I'm like, oh, these people are worse than me. So like it's it's a circle. It's a circle of all that. But we hear some really wild stuff. Like people DM a lot of stuff that doesn't even make it to the show because like we opened up our DMs, we have people who email us, and we consistently get stuff that is not usable.
Yeah.
Because it's too much.
Yeah. And you're like, oh my goodness.
You can't make a conversation out of everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some things are conversation stoppers.
Yeah. And so some things shut down the room.
Some message should be kept to yourself.
Yes. And that is a public service announcement. Anybody in Quin's DMs. Before I let you go, I want to say really quickly, I think that your shorts on YouTube are so fun. I think they could be like a whole series where you're just like giving little pieces of advice to people or giving little pieces of quips. I know that's kind of what it is, but I really feel like I could watch one of those every day.
I need to do more. Like I have a lot that I have saved that I haven't posted.
I love them.
Lucky enough to be touring, and like that kind of like takes a lot more out of me than I thought that it would.
Yeah.
So content creation is like not always easy, but I mean, I like, that's what I love about TikTok and like YouTube shorts. Like you don't have to really make sense. I love that about Twitter. Yeah. Like basically it's just a speaking tweet. Yeah. And like, I think that's like, thank you. Like that. I appreciate that. Of
course. Quinn,
it's not really words to live by, but but it's something, right?
To somebody, they're ringing true to somebody. Somebody's gonna watch it and be like, "Oh yeah."
I hope so. That's the
I
goal.
like that Quinn guy. All right, Quinn. Well, will you please let everybody know where they can find you, follow the Messy Show?
Sure. You can. I'll start with the Messy Show. You can subscribe and follow the Messy Show at the Messy Show on Instagram. We also have the Messy Show on Twitter, and I don't think there's a Facebook. Or maybe yes, there is a Facebook. The Messy Show Pod on Facebook also, and that's across all streaming platforms: Spotify, uh, Apple, iHeart, all of that. And for me, you can follow me at the Quin Lamar on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. It's all the same. The Quin Lamar.
The Quin Lamar. Well, Quin, this was such a pleasure. Thank you for sharing such a vulnerable and wild story and making this the platform that you shared it for the first time. I'm so honored.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm
Of
so happy to
course.
tell that story. I'll probably tell it again on the Messy Show now that I've dug it out.
That's all right. I loved every second of it, and I loved every second of our conversation. So you and I will talk soon, okay, Quin?
Definitely. Thank you.
All right. Bye.